do it! Bobiverse is a modern sci-fi story by Dennis E. Taylor, and I'm going to give it one of the strongest recommendations I have given any sci-fi book I've reviewed on my channel. For those of you unaware, I do have quite the extensive relationship with classic sci-fi. I haven't reviewed it as much on this channel because I know you guys aren't the biggest fan of it, and I want to cover what you're more involved with, so fantasy dominates. But I do love me some classic and modern science fiction, from I, Robot, Stranger in Strangeland, and Childhood's End to Bobiverse and The Martian. There's a long, torrent history with this genre where it has evolved and changed quite drastically to some people's annoyance, and I get why they're annoyed, because classic sci-fi and great stories like the series of short stories Passage Through Tomorrow is just about ideas and exploration of these concepts and what could our future be. And modern sci-fi tends to be more sci-fantasy. It's very character-driven instead of ideas-driven, which can be a great thing, and I still do love the genre. But while it does have a science coding a lot of the time, it's not really focused on those ideas anymore. Take the genetics and intellectual ideas that are explored in the Foundation trilogy and try to find a modern equivalent. You can't really without looking extremely hard. And this is why Bobiverse was such an incredible breath of fresh air to read, because I think it took the best of both worlds. It took the character-driven plot of modern sci-fi and interwove it with a great idea and concept that would have kind of been an entire series back in the classic sci-fi age. And then it explores that idea to, I think, to its fullest potential. It's exhilarating, fun, heart-wrenching, tear-jerking. You'll fist pump your hand in the air. You'll want to relate and feel to this robot fake man. It's extraordinary. So for those of you who want no more detail beyond that, that's my recommendation. Click off the video here. I think you should absolutely do it. But if you'd like a brief setup that some could consider mild spoiler-free, but it's nothing you're not going to see on like the jacket of the book, let's go ahead and dive right into that. In the first book, we are Legion, we are Bob. We start with a successful young man who has just invested in some technology that when he dies, they will preserve his brain, because why not? When you're really rich, why not put a little money in that? See what they can do with it down the road. So that's what he's done. And of course, he then dies, but doesn't. His consciousness is brought back, and it's put into a probe, something to be shot into space, an exploratory probe to be sent off, except he's also in a dystopian Earth where a religious regime kind of dominates. So this scientifically keen young man has had his mind brought back and placed in a probe to be shot into space and explore the universe. But shenanigans happen, and we get one of the best characterizations and explorations of what is consciousness, what constitutes life I have read in the last few years. There are great twists and turns throughout this story, but Bob is the star. And it's a character that I won't give away the twist, but there's a spectacular twist on kind of evolving and changing this character extraordinarily rapidly in a believable way for the setting. And really, I just kind of fell in love with this series in book one and couldn't wait for book two. For two reasons. One, because it was an extraordinary story up to this point, and I wanted to keep going. And two, the biggest detriment to this series, and honestly something that drives me a little nuts, the author has no idea how to end a book at all. It just stops telling the story, and then the next book picks up right there. There's no like pacing, oh, this is done, let's continue on. It's just done, start, go. So there's some political stuff going on here, which if you're interested in political intrigue, could drive you to be interested in Bobiverse. I think it's more character driven than anything else, and there is a healthy vein of just exploring scientific ideas that remains incredibly prevalent for Bobiverse. Whether it's the stresses on an artificial mind being alone out in space, the possibilities of new life, alien life, preserving humanity after this dystopian incident. And it's just truly brilliant, fun, engaging, not the deepest thing ever, but it's not shallow. I would never say Bobiverse is shallow. And it's probably one of the easiest reads I've ever read in my entire life, not because it's dumbed down or simple, but because it's just so thrilling and every page makes you want to keep going, digging deeper, non-stop. So that is my why you should read The Bobiverse by Dennis E. Taylor. Legitimately one of the most just enjoyable stories I've read in the last 10 years, and still, after all this time, one of the true highlights of reading and reviewing on my channel. Anyway, guys, if you've not already, like and subscribe. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. Share some of my videos if you'd like to see the channel grow. Have a good one, y'all. Peace! Special shout out to my latest high tier Patreon, Mithril DM, which obviously you didn't put your real name and you put a badass nickname. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Sorry you didn't get shout out in the last video. I screwed up the entire Patreon page in the last video, so hopefully this long personal message to you makes up for it. I hope you're having a good one. I hope everyone's having a good one. Have a good one, y'all. Wait, that was repetitive. See ya!